two things just happened in the Pi node ecosystem that deserve close attention. First, Pi node version 0.6.2 was released, bringing meaningful quality of life improvements to SoloHost and node connectivity. Second, and more significantly, Pi has successfully completed its first distributed computing test through a SoloHost app, validating the end-to-end pipeline that could eventually turn 420,000 Pi node computers into a paid AI computing layer. Today, we break down both updates, explain what the distributed computing test actually proved, and put it in the context of where Pi node is heading. Pi node 0.6.2. What changed? Let's start with the 0.6.2 release itself and what's new. The most practically significant update for most node operators is automatic port configuration through UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. Previously, setting up local device connectivity for SoloHost apps like Hermes required manually configuring ports through your router. For non-technical users, that's a genuine barrier navigating router admin interfaces, understanding port forwarding, troubleshooting connection failures. Version 0.6.2 automates that process on supported routers, alongside a new port checker tool that confirms connectivity is working correctly. This matters because local device connectivity is what enables pioneers to access their SoloHost apps, like a locally running AI agent on their desktop from their mobile phone through Pi browser. If that connection setup is too technically demanding, most users won't complete it. UPnP support removes that friction. The second meaningful update is support for unlisted SoloHost apps. Previously, developers building on SoloHost had to either keep their app entirely private or list it publicly. Now there's a middle state unlisted, where an app can be run by pioneers who choose to access it, even before it's publicly featured. This gives developers a proper testing and staged rollout path. Connecting to this, SoloHost App State Management now covers three formal stages: draft, unlisted, and listed. Draft is for active development. Unlisted is for testing and limited access. Listed is full public visibility. That's a proper app lifecycle framework. Small but important infrastructure for serious developers. Two additional SoloHost apps are being added to the featured section: MCP-Atlassian and OpenClaw, joining the existing Hermes local AI agent. That brings the featured app count to 3, with 110 community-built apps in the broader SoloHost directory. Several UI and navigation fixes round out the release, including a fix where SoloHost app status displayed incorrectly after navigating away and returning, and a correction to ensure Pi Desktop switches to the App tab at the right moment after installation completes. The distributed computing test what happened. Now the part of this update that carries the most long-term significance. Pi has completed an initial distributed computing functionality test through SoloHost with 5 volunteer node operators. The test validated the complete end-to-end pipeline. Node devices connected to a Pi coordinator received computing jobs automatically through a SoloHost app, processed those jobs on their local hardware, and reported results back. All 5 devices successfully completed the tasks. The pipeline works. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what Pi has been building toward. SoloHost was released on Pi 2 Day 2026, initially supporting locally run apps like AI agents. But the longer-term roadmap always included distributed computings using Pi's 420,000-plus node network to process AI workloads for external clients, with node operators compensated in Pi.
This test builds on a previous proof-of-concept project that explored whether Pi's global node network could support decentralized AI training and computing tasks. That proof of concept showed theoretical feasibility. The 0.6.2 test goes further. It validates an actual SoloHost app running the distributed computing flow on real devices, with real task distribution and real result reporting. The infrastructure being described, where third-party AI clients send computing jobs to Pi nodes and pay for that compute in Pi, is a significant economic model for node operators, not just blockchain validators. A globally distributed computing workforce, compensated through the network they're already running. Putting it in context where this sits in Pi's roadmap. Step back and this update fits into a clear progression, that Pi has been building through 2026. Protocol v23 activated smart contracts on mainnet. Protocol v25 introduced zero-knowledge cryptography. Pi today launched SoloHost, Pi Sign-In, and Pi Verify. The ecosystem Quest onboarded 1.78 million pioneers to these features. And now, Node 0.6.2 delivers the first validated distributed computing test. Each of these is a building block. Smart contracts enable decentralized applications. Zero-knowledge proofs enable privacy-preserving verification. SoloHost enables self-hosted apps and compute. Pi Verify monetizes Pi's identity infrastructure externally. And distributed computing through SoloHost monetizes Pi's node network externally. The pattern is consistent. Pi is building multiple external revenue streams denominated in Pi, each drawing on infrastructure that already exists within the ecosystem. Distributed computing is the most compute-intensive of these, and the one with potentially the largest addressable market, given the global demand for AI computing resources. The honest scale question? Here's where intellectual honesty matters most. 5 nodes is a proof of concept, not a production system. The gap between a successful 5-node test and a reliable production-grade distributed computing network spanning thousands of heterogeneous personal computers globally is significant. Personal computers vary enormously in hardware capability, internet reliability, uptime consistency, and geographic distribution. Coordinating computing tasks across that kind of infrastructure, ensuring jobs complete reliably, results are accurate, and compensation is fairly distributed is a genuinely hard engineering problem. Pi has acknowledged this. The language used is initial test, and further automates, scales, and completes the functionalities into a real app intended to provide production-level utility. That's honest framing. This is a validated starting point, not a finished product. The encouraging signal is that the end-to-end pipeline works at small scale. The engineering challenge now is scaling it, and that's where the next months of development will be focused. What node operators should do now? Practical takeaways for anyone running a Pi node. First, upgrade to v0.6.2 if you haven't already. The UPnP automatic port configuration alone is worth it, and staying current with node software is increasingly important as protocol upgrades accelerate. Remember, the Protocol v26 mainnet upgrade deadline is August 11, 2026. Nodes that don't upgrade will be disconnected. Second, explore SoloHost if you haven't. Try running Hermes. Check the unlisted app support if you're a developer with something in testing. The framework is getting more capable with each release. Third, watch for the distributed computing app rollout. Pi has indicated this will be released in SoloHost soon, initially targeting the top node operators by reliability and uptime. If distributed computing compensation in Pi becomes a real income stream for node operators, being an established, reliable operator when it launches will matter. Pi Node 0.6.2 removes friction for SoloHost setup, gives developers proper app lifecycle tools, and validated the distributed computing pipeline on real hardware for the first time. 5 nodes. End-to-end pipeline confirmed. 420,000 node operators waiting for what comes next. Are you running a Pi node? Have you tried SoloHost yet? And would you opt into distributed computing for Pi rewards when it goes live? Drop your answers below and subscribe for continued Pi ecosystem coverage.